What's up, guys? So this video is a little bit different than my other ones. I am dubbing over myself, so that's me sitting in the driver's seat, and I have the car sitting on what's called a dyno, which is just a big machine that measures horsepower output. So you have the wheels that would spin while they're given power. You have those sitting on the rollers of the dyno. So this is at a shop that's it's a local shop here. This is actually because this is an s2000 that I'm sitting in, and it's in a little American performance shop. So like they specialize in American cars, which was kind of weird rolling up in there with a little s2000, a little import car, you know. But hey, a car is a car, you know. Like they're mainly concerned about the money, and they're like I'm paying them pretty much to use their dyno. So it was kind of funny putting the car on the dyno, because I'm like backing it up to the dyno, and the guy was like, wait, you're backing it in. It's front wheel drive, right? And I'm like, oh no. This one's rear wheel drive. So, and it was kind of funny because imports have that stereotype, you know, they're all rear wheel drive, or they're all front wheel drive. But anyway, this one's rear wheel drive, so I've backed it onto the dyno. But so what's going on in this video is the car is strapped into the dyno. It's all ratcheted down with these really fat ratchet straps that just hold it in place, while it's sitting on these big rollers. So the laptop that's on my right, I'm increasing and decreasing resistance to those rollers that the wheels are spinning on. As I increase or decrease the resistance, it changes the load that's put on the engine, and that's something that I'm using because as you can see, the laptop that I have in my lap, you can't really see the chart that well. I have a video. I have a video in my little. I have a video series that I put up on just the basics of how to tune a car, how to set a car up for tuning, like how to configure different sensors and things like that. And there's one little section that I actually have a screen capture going. Actually, the whole thing is a screen capture. So what's on the laptop screen right now it's that type of a screen that's being recorded, and I'm talking about what we're looking at. So you can jump to that video and you can get a more detailed explanation of that particular screen that I'm looking at right now, and how to tune it. That's in a video called I think data logging and street tuning, or street tuning and data logging, or something like that. That's the name of it. I just don't remember which word came before the other one. But you can jump to that video and then jump back to this one. It would probably answer a lot of questions that you might have right now that I can't answer because I can't explain that screen in detail enough, being that I'm just dubbing over this video. So the basics of that screen, the laptop though, there's that chart. If you could imagine like an Excel chart, that's kind of what it looks like. That chart that I'm looking at, there's an x-axis and a y-axis. X-axis is horizontal, the y-axis is vertical. On the x-axis, it's measuring it's the load of the engine. So it's a measurement that says what the load of the engine is, or like how much resistance I'm putting on it by the dyno, basically. The y-axis is the RPM. So all of those cells, there's different points that they intersect. So there's different points that I'm trying to get the dyno to recreate just by changing the resistance of the laptop. With the laptop, changing the resistance of the laptop on the right, changing the resistance of the rollers that are on the dyno, that are part of the dyno, changing the resistance to those, which in turn changes the resistance of the engine, or changes the load on the engine, which puts a little cursor at a different point on that chart that's on the laptop that's in my lap. So the y-axis is RPM, and the x-axis is load. So I mean, I'm changing the RPM with my foot, and as I change the RPM, the load changes a little bit because the engine is kind of creating its own load as the RPMs go up. But the dyno is giving it even more load. So I'm trying to get that little cursor at different cells, and as it gets to those cells, there's an ideal air-fuel ratio, which I also explain in more detail in a video called I think AFR. It's something about, I think I have 2 videos. I'll put a link in the description to both of the videos. The one for the wideband, or sorry, the one for the data logging and street tuning, and also the video for the one where I explain air-fuel ratio in more detail and why you would want the car at certain air-fuel ratios that aren't 14.7. Because I mean, most people know that the ideal air-fuel ratio is 14.7 to 1. But there's other conditions to where you want that to be more rich, which is a number that's less than 14.7 to 1. So it would be, you know, like down 13 to 1, 12 to 1, 11 to 1, just depending on certain conditions in the engine. And you don't want to go over 14.7. So that air-fuel ratio I have laid out in another chart. That so it's those values are predetermined. Now this chart that I'm looking at right now, that's on the left laptop screen, whenever the engine is operating in an area of that chart where the load and the RPM are meeting at a cell that says a certain number, that number can be changed to adjust the air-fuel ratio. And as the air-fuel ratio is changed, you'll see that gauge on my top left, not top left, but it's on the left right above the steering wheel. Right now it says 14.6. It just dropped to 13 something, 13.7, and now it just got blurry. So it's the red number that we're looking at. It's not red because of danger, it's just red because that's the gauge color. The gauge above that, it says -16. Don't worry about that. It's a boost gauge. Right now it's measuring vacuum because it measures both. It can measure vacuum or it can measure boost, which is boost is the positive pressure and vacuum is a negative pressure. So but right now, as you can see, let me see if I can explain this better based on what we're seeing in the video. So we're looking at a number that says 14.4 right now, 14.3, 14.2. It's getting more blurry, I can't tell. So I'm increasing resistance on the laptop right now. As I'm doing that, that number is dropping more and more to a more rich value. And now it just rose some more. But as I get to different spots in the engine that haven't been tuned, that number on that red gauge, the air-fuel ratio gauge, will change and it will go more lean, which is a number that's above 14.7, 14.7 to 1. So you'll see some points where it gets up to 15, 16, and then there's a moment that I press a key on the laptop. When I press that key on the laptop, what the car's computer does, which is what my laptop in my lap is interfaced with the computer that's controlling the car right now. It's just always bolted into the car. It always controls the car. That computer in my lap is interfaced with the computer that controls the car. Now that car's computer does a calculation, and it says, okay, the air-fuel ratio that he wants to be at is 14 something. Let's just say 14.7 to 1. Right now, the actual air-fuel ratio is, 16 to 1 or something like that. When I press that key, it looks at what I want the air-fuel ratio to be at based on another configuration page that's different than the one that I'm looking at right now on my laptop, the one on the left. So it compares it to that configuration page, and it says, hey, it needs to be at this other air-fuel ratio. So it does a quick little formula, and it changes the the number in the cell. I don't have to type a number in and keep typing a number in until it hits a certain air-fuel ratio. I just press that one button, which is the Q button. I press the Q, and it does that quick calculation that takes the car to the air-fuel ratio that I determined in that other configuration page, if that makes sense. Again, I explained this better in that series that I talked about, and the link that I have in the description about air-fuel ratio. So check that out. It's pretty informative. It's explaining it while looking at that configuration page, so it makes a little bit more sense. But as you can see, the engine RPM is getting higher and higher, and let's see. I know earlier in the video there were some numbers that were around 15, 16 to 1. There it is. So right now it's up at 15 something. You can barely tell. And I just pressed the Q button just now, and it dropped down to 14.5, which is what it was supposed to be at that point where the RPM and the load of the engine meet. So I'm doing it again. I'm raising the RPM, and I'm also right now I'm raising the resistance of the dyno, and I'm trying to get it back in another cell. And you can hear the engine rev up, and you can kind of hear a little bit more load put on it. And what's kind of nice too is you can hear the difference in how the exhaust sounds a little bit. Like once you press that button, you hear the exhaust change a little bit. I don't think you can hear it change in the recorded video, but you definitely hear it when you're at the car. If it's at a air-fuel ratio that's like 16 something, it just sounds different. And then when you press that Q button and it does the quick calculation and it drops it to the ideal, or to the previously determined air-fuel ratio that I want the car to be at that point of RPM and load where they meet. It changes. I think that's what I was saying. The sound changes. I got lost for a second. So that's the basics of everything that's going on here. Again, the laptop on the right is it's just interfacing with the dyno. It's plugged in and it's measuring everything. It's controlling the dyno. There's that little controller with the flashing light that's under my elbow. That's used to, the green flashing light is also a button, which is used to start and stop the logging function on the dyno, which also pops up on the screen. You'll see that pop up a little bit later on, more towards the end of the video. I do like a more of an acceleration run, and then I let off the dyno. I let off the gas, and the dyno winds down, and then I press that red button on the controller, and it applies brake. And it slows down the rear wheels, because while you're on a dyno, you definitely don't want to press the foot brake. I've never done it. I've just always been told not to do it. Like, never do it, pretty much. So okay, here we go. So right now I just pressed that button to log. I'm accelerating the car. You see the gauge on the top left hit about 10 pounds boost, and now I press the button to stop the logging, and then I press the red button, and then you hear the dyno wind down the wheels, so it applies the brake. So that's just the basics of how you work the dyno. There's other ones that they have a different type controller, which is a little bit easier to use. So that little white controller, the pendant, it's got that log button to start and stop the log function. It's got the brake button to apply the brake to the dyno, and it also has an up and a down button to increase and decrease the resistance on the dyno, which is a lot easier than using a laptop to do it, because you can have that little pendant in your hand, and you can have like a projector on the wall, or like a big screen on the wall, or even just a little laptop screen that's sitting there right beside, like on a little work table or something by the dyno. So right now I'm on the ignition map, and I'm just making some basic changes. Basically all I'm doing is I'm running the dyno, and after I do one run, I'm making some changes to the ignition table, and then I do another run, and I see if the horsepower output went up or down as the two runs are compared to each other on the chart. So I think I'm about to do another run, but I don't know if I video it, but I use those two data logs pretty much just to determine, like, okay, did I make the horsepower output better or worse by changing the ignition timing. If I made it better, then I can continue to make it better, or I can just leave it where it's at. But most likely what I would do is I'll just continue to make it better until it starts getting worse again. And then once it starts getting worse again, then I'll back it off to what it was before. And you do this all throughout the power band. You see that I have the chart on the right, and I don't know if you can tell, but you can see the output. You can see the output. Now I'm only accelerating in third, so it's got a lower horsepower. It's got a lower horsepower output. So right now it's only measured like 240, but that's in third gear. I should be doing it in fifth gear if I was doing it to show like the or to accurately measure like the horsepower that's being put to the wheels. But at this point in the video, I'm not that concerned about it. I don't want to accelerate from first to second to third to fourth and then to fifth just to do that full speed dyno run. So I'm only doing it in third, and like I said, the only reason I'm doing that is just to what do you call it? To avoid going from fourth into fifth. Also, just to save a little time. You can do it. I mean, it doesn't hurt any other way. It doesn't hurt doing it the other way. But anyway, that's all I really have to say about this video. That's the basics of everything that's going on. You can continue to watch it if you want, but it's basically the same stuff again. And as you can see, the fuel map I still have to go a little bit, make some more adjustments to it, because right now it says 15.3, 15.5 to 1, so that's gotta change. So anyway, I hope this was informative. I hope this was helpful. As for now, I'm going to turn off the audio. You can keep watching this if you want, but it's the same. It's just the same stuff out throughout the end. So I hope this was informative, helpful. Subscribe if you want. I put up videos of this nature all the time. Quick repair videos, little things while I have my cell phone with me and I'm working on somebody's car. Something that's interesting enough that I think is a video, I'll put it up. And if you want to learn more about tuning, check out my little series that I have that I put up a couple weeks ago on just the basics of all of this stuff. If you want to get into being a tuner, it's definitely fun. You get a little feeling of accomplishment with every car that you tune, so it's definitely pretty cool. I guess the more painful thing about it is actually trying to get your name out there and get people to see you as a reputable tuner. But anyway, I'm also planning on putting up a video series on just different sensors, what their function is in the engine, how they perform, how to troubleshoot them, how to tune them, how to set them up, I guess as technical as I can get, where it's still useful and it's not too technical to where it's like, okay, why are you saying this? This is pointless. Why do I need to know this? You know? So anyway, So thanks for checking out the video, thanks for watching it this far, and for hearing me ramble on and on and on. But anyway, follow out to the end. It's maybe there's a surprise that I'm not telling you about that I don't want you to see, or maybe there's not. Now there's suspense. So anyway, now you'll never know if you cut off the video. You have to watch to the end. So anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for watching. God bless. I hope this has been informative and helpful and all that good stuff. So like, comment, subscribe. Yeah, thanks a lot.